shyer than
Do you do
one
me a
would
favor?
think. Yeah.
Dominic,
Oh.
just take that. I'm sorry, the other D. Slide that towards you. Hold that. Good. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Here we go.
Oh, hold on.
Rolling?
So hold on.
No, you're good. We're all good.
You rolling?
Finding the Funk, India. Take one. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So we're talking about funk today, and I was to ask you, if you had to define, someone comes from another planet and they land on Earth and said, God, India, what is funk? What would you say?
I would say it depends on what info you got, or well, obviously this person doesn't know
It's a
anything.
blank slate.
Blank slate. Funk has a lot to do with the booty of music, which is like the backbeat, the dark keys, the pulse, and the thump of rhythm. And it basically gives you this feeling, whereas you have to dance. If this person came from a foreign place in the atmosphere, hemisphere, or whatever, and they would what does it mean to dance? I would have to lead them to where funk music seems to have given a significant point for me in the clubs. So I'd have to direct them to the funk, understand and make them understand that it has something to do with a deep bottom, a deep blue, black, hard, thumping, pulsating sort of feeling that it leaves you with. But there's a lot of different legs that it stands on.
What are those legs?
Those legs kind of like, stand on basis of what it sort of, where it has to do with fashion, where it has to do with a collective group of people from a club culture or a subculture that really did get its just due, but in a way it seems like it didn't get its just due. But I would direct them to the clubs.
So, funk is dance music.
Well, in some respects it is. It's dance music. In some respects it's for some people it's almost like a religion too, or not, as you would say, in a cult sort of fashion, but it has a certain sort of synergy that sort of, if you're not funky, it's hard to be able to like promote the funk. So it kind of is a collective sort of group thing for me, whereas, I don't know if that has to do with even funk bands that always, in order to really bring the funk, it seems that there always must be a bunch of people kind of hanging in there together or sweating or, something that's sort of, something just that kind of moves your body and moves your insides, but it's with a collective group of people.
Well, if to the same person, if you had to direct them to what music, what artists do they need to listen to if they want to understand funk?
I would definitely say Parliament Funkadelic, Bootsy Collins, Roger, Labelle in some respects, Cameo, New Birth, James Brown. James Brown has a lot of different pockets that I think he falls into, but definitely it's the funk. Brand New Heavies. But that's prior, that's a whole nother question and a whole nother subject, as being post hip hop funk opposed to pre hip hop funk.
What's the difference?
There's a big difference.
What's post hip hop funk?
Post hip hop funk seems to like go in the same category as post punk, post hip hop, post Jean-Michel Basquiat, because it kind of goes into, again, we link that with the clubs, with what we didn't know, that was a different type of social platform that was going on before punk music and before hip hop, before the subculture of what is pop generational, or what is it? It's sort of a post. Let me see. I don't want to get stumble on this. But it's sort of after a certain point of subculture in pop, in the way we look at pop culture today.
Right.
It has a different connotation because of the social backdrop of what was there before.
Okay, talk to me about what's your, from your point of view as a woman growing up, what was your introduction to funk? What do you remember? Like, wow, this is.
Oh, man. So my introduction to funk would have definitely been Graham Central Station, Labelle, Earth, Wind and Fire. But they had a different type of funk that was different than like a Sly Stone and a Graham Central Station funk. Again, when you have that thumping of the bass, for me, bass and drums in funk music just represent the whole backdrop. Without the bass and the drums and that thump, it just doesn't exist. So I would definitely say, you know, the Graham Central Stations, you know, the...
So you think Larry Graham's very important?
Absolutely, as well as Bootsy, definitely. I mean, how can you have, I mean, they really made a very impressionable impact on me, very much so.
So coming up, you know, you're a young woman, you're learning to sing. Did you make it? I mean, there seems to be a whole style. I want to talk about singing. One thing that's come up a lot about funk is yow.
Yeah, absolutely. Ohio players.
What does that sound? That it's a lot of the singers in funk use this sound.
I think it's the difference between, you know, and I think there has to be some sort of line also between soul and funk. Whereas soul, you know, I think, and I could be wrong on this, you know, because I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought, but I really think that soul has something, again, that links itself to the social platform of what was going on at the time. When you're soulful, I mean, obviously, you know, there's this feeling, this moan or whatever, soul and blues music, where funk, it was more in your face. It was like, ow, because, you know, you're thumping that bass and it's like, because again, it leads back to that, you know, it's almost like a combination of being inside and outside at the same time, you know.
So the singers who we associate with Sugarfoot, Ohio players,
Right.
Larry Blackman. There's a sound, Steve Arrington. There's a sound that seemed that was particular to funk. And what do you make of it as from a single point of view? Is that a soul, is a gospel thing, or is it just some new stuff that came out?
I think it's a combination. Because, you know, I really do base everything on the place and time of where people are. That's why I kind of related things more so back to, like, the subculture. Because of what was before, the things and the types of experiences that these people were going through at the time. You know, the social dynamics. You know, I think it really has a lot to do, maybe at this point, you know, you're getting into, like, funk and stuff like that, where I say, like, we're soul. It's maybe much more insular or inside feeling, and funk is a bit of a combination of the two. So the funk music, by that point, you know, maybe people were really ready to, like, hey, ow, I'm ready, come on, bring it with it, you know what I'm saying? It may have been another expression that was the social dynamic that people that still make me think that it made you, okay, now we're at the point we want to dance, we want to feel good, but we still got that ow, you know what I mean? This inside yearning, but at the same time, but on the outside, but I'm going to give you this, you know?
It's funny. I was going to ask you about Labelle. Because when we talk about funk, they're one of the few groups of women that come up in the discussion. It's mostly men with big afros. What impact do you think that Labelle had as singers, and when they make the transition from being the Bluebells to Labelle?
Right. Well, again, as a young girl, and knowing about, I was like blown away in the first place of, like, who are these women? Where are they coming from? The costumery that also links itself to what funk music also started to make us have a visual dynamic. And Labelle really kind of just put that so right in your face. I mean, you know, they're basically, you know, with the sort of puffy sleeved sort of things that people and designers are still emulating these styles as we speak. They really took us into a place whereas, oh, this is another dynamic where it seems, oh, we've heard the soul thing before, but funk almost took us into the future. It also had that element, and that is a part of one of the other legs that it stands on. And Labelle really represented that. You know, it was very glitzy. It was like, you know, liberating. It was very strong as far as the vocals, the presentation. It was just very identifiable for anyone that really wanted that. They could give the aggression, but at the same time make that sensitivity, which takes us back to soul music, that flips it to the funk.
Yeah, it's interesting about the whole thing you said about their style. One thing about funk that was interesting is it literally space. There is a whole. It was a lot of music about consciousness,
right,
from Earth and Fire to
right.
Pyramids. Do you think that's one of the things that separates? If soul music is really gospel music, it seemed like funk took from other places to get inspiration.
I think so. This is the whole thing as far as the inner thoughts that we think, or as far as the outer thoughts that we think. And with funk music, with that association with fashion, with that futuristic point of view, you know, it gave, I think that these musicians and these artists, you know, they had a very visionary perspective, because it did allow people to kind of reach a little bit more deep into their consciousness to be able to propel forward, whereas we do have a certain other type of expression with, you know, with the clothing that also visually, like, oh, we're going forward now, even though we're like, we have this thing about funk with this beat and this backbeat and this visual perspective. I mean, I think it's you know, it's very significant, and it basically has allowed us as the people that have come again post hip hop